started. If we have a few people join us, they'll come in, but I think we're going to go ahead and respect everyone's time and get started. My name is Jill Moe. I'm the Director of Planning and Development for the City of Dunkirk. On behalf of the city and Mayor Rosas, who unfortunately had a prior commitment tonight and is unable to attend this evening, I would like to welcome you today to this public meeting to discuss some options of how you'd like to see the city invest the American Rescue Plan stimulus funding. I would first like to start by thanking SUNY Fredonia Incubator for hosting us, NCCS at NCCF for their assistance in planning these meetings. They have also provided snacks, so there's some water and some cookies and little snacks out there if you would like to help yourself. I'd also like to thank Mark Wood, City Treasurer, Marsha Beach, Fiscal Affairs Officer, our development team, and all the city employees that have worked so hard on this project. And I would also like to thank the council members for also their assistance and support. Today we will review.
Sorry, Jill.
Today we will review a quick presentation describing the program and some sample ideas of what the money could potentially be used for. The U.S. Treasury Department has guidelines on how we can use the money, so not everything would be eligible, but we wanted to host these meetings to gather citizen feedback and ideas. We hosted one Spanish language presentation yesterday, and we're hosting this presentation this evening. At the end of the presentation, I encourage you to please fill out a comment card and a survey with your ideas on what investments the city could make to improve our community. Thank you very much for attending today. So we will get started. Some background of the local fiscal recovery funds. To help local governments, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, also known as ARPA, has established the coronavirus state and local fiscal recovery funds, designed to deliver money to state, local, territorial, and tribal governments to bolster their response to the COVID-19 emergency and its impact. That says COVID-10, but it's not COVID-19. The City of Dunkirk is in line to receive $10,885,109 in federal funding. We are meeting today.
Can I go front?
Yes, ma'am. You can sit wherever you like.
Go right.
We're meeting today to get feedback on how you would like to see the money be invested in our community. The plan focuses on spurring economic development for a sustainable future, delivering a shot in the arm to complete needed city projects, and making the City of Dunkirk a better place to live and do business in. The recovery funds are intended to be expended quickly. The time frame for the use of these funds runs through July 1st, 2024, with the funds needing to be completely expended by 2026. Internally, the mayor has assembled a team who's been working on the project and has been in communication with the county and other municipalities to see how they're using their funds. And so here are some examples of some sample projects that the city could use these funds for. Parks capital projects. Examples of some projects that could be completed include a recreation or community center, an expanded network of walking and bike trails, various sports courts, or a municipal parking garage. Some other parks capital projects that could be completed include a Wright Park Beach pedestrian access decking walkway, or maybe a purchase of a beach cleaner machine or better lighting along Waterfront Trail walkway between Memorial Park to Wright Park. Some other sample projects may include technology, police, or sanitation improvements. The community is in need of new surveillance cameras, equipment, and a garbage truck. Some of these funds could be used to upgrade current technology throughout the city. Or we could do a Central Avenue 4th Street streetscape design. This would be an opportunity to redesign the City of Dunkirk's downtown. The planting of new trees, replacing sidewalks, installing parking meters, and other utility improvements would revitalize the area. Housing is another area that you could use some of the funds for. A housing improvement program, for instance. The city could make direct investment in housing rehabilitation programs by working with not-for-profits or providing direct support for home improvements, such as a citywide painting program, resulting in increased neighborhood stabilization. I mentioned water, sewer, and broadband. The pandemic has shown the need for critical investments in our city's aging physical and digital infrastructure. From our children not being able to access essential internet needed for virtual classroom to replacement of storm sewers, now, more than ever, infrastructure funding is necessary. The recovery funds explicitly allow for the investment in necessary improvements to our water, sewer, and broadband infrastructures, including priority projects that address the impacts of climate change. Finally, the city may use recovery funds to build capacity to successfully implement, track, report on, and execute economic relief programs. The next steps are for you guys to submit to us your feedback and your suggestions. So we ask that you please fill out a survey or comment card before you leave. Does anyone have any questions? Yes?
It wasn't too many years ago the city went through a comprehensive plan exercise. Where does that stand?
Yep, so we finished our comprehensive plan, and all projects that would move forward should align with those that are outlined as priorities in the comprehensive plan. Yep. So that plan is a guide to be used for future planning of projects, right? So we would consult that. It made suggestions on projects that the city needs or should implement, and any suggestions moving forward should be in line with the comprehensive plan. So we use that tool, right? Make sense? Yes.
Jill, I've kind of researched some of the guidelines for this, and obviously you have much more extensive. We've done that, but are there any provisions for, and you spoke of some critical infrastructure, which I think is very important. Is there any provisions for capital projects other than what you mentioned? In other words, for equipment, city equipment, not necessarily just in my department, but in all departments, and for city facility upgrades?
Yes. So the Treasury has issued some very broad guidance on how you can and cannot use these funds. We were chatting before the meeting. Some things that you can't use the funds for would be, for instance, paying your pensions or paying off debt or general city operating expenses. Those are some ineligible activities that you can't use the funds for. The way you can invest in the things that you mentioned. There's a couple of different ways. They have what's called qualified census tracts. So any project that fits within a qualified census tract would be allowable. They also have provided, the Department of Treasury has provided a formula for the city to use to estimate and calculate lost revenue. So the purpose of these funds, remember I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, is to make the city whole. And so you have the formula to calculate the lost revenue, and then once you have that figure, you can use the stimulus funds to put back into your budget, and then budget a new fire truck or a new whatever.
I have a letter that answers this, I think, don't I?
Ma'am?
I have a letter that answered the fire department, yeah. Can I read it? I have everything on here that I'm going to turn in to everybody, okay? And it relates to the fire department and the police department.
Okay, does it have anything to do with the ARPA funds?
I gotta read it.
Okay.
I asked to read it to the incubator, okay, to Chuck Cornell and, so, can I read it?
Well,
Let me.
I really want to stay on task, and so I don't want to waste anybody's time. The purpose of tonight's meeting,
I have to read it because I have everything enclosed that will go to your department, okay?
Valerie, why don't you leave her a copy of it?
All right, 1 second.
yes.
So you could go in with other communities nearby and somehow pool some of this money? Could you share a project with some community?
I suppose that could be allowable. Sure.
And that question makes me wonder, the idea's been tossed out before of having a combined Fredonia Dunkirk police location,
Yep.
headquarters, department, whatever. So is that something allowable, do you think, under that? I mean, or is that getting too complicated? We want to keep it right here in Dunkirk and do Dunkirk projects.
You know, it's definitely something that we can consider. I would encourage you to write it on a comment card, and we can explore that idea and option further with the guidance from the Treasury and our auditor consultants to figure out how we could make a project like that work. But sure, I don't see why
So
we couldn't.
Would there be discussions with our neighbor Fredonia perhaps to build a rec center between the two communities?
That would be a great idea.
Yeah, spend about 10 million and get a real rec center, not some, because the fairgrounds right now, as nice as it is, the German prisoners built it well, but it's out of date. Just a few years.
Yep. I couldn't agree more. I would love to see a rec center.
Brought in on a shared reality.
Absolutely, I would love to see that.
Okay?
We could put it right on our waterfront. It'd be beautiful,
Well,
right?
not if we're sharing it with them.
No, that would be ours. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep, Mr. Metzger.
Report with
You
the
can't read that.
question
That's
for
unfair
use
to
of
us.
grant money.
Okay,
To begin
Miss Valerie.
on August 24th, that was supposed to be, we thought yesterday, okay? While we're here, Sandy and I had put in for the police department.
I'm gonna have to ask, that's off topic. We're really here, everybody here.
I have
is
to read this.
Okay, maybe you can submit it to
They
the,
told me to read it, okay? It's for everybody.
well, I'd be glad to take a copy of that.
First of all, for reasons why the $15 million in grant money should be used for the city of Dunkirk. It's then on top of the world. Sandy and I put in for a grant for the police department and the fire department for the 3-in-1 that was supposed to be.
Valerie, this is about a different grant.
Yeah, this is something different, and we got a copy.
Yeah, can I read it?
Well,
I need to for
I
the.
don't see the point of it right now, Valerie.
I
think
got
that just-
permission.
You can turn it in and then we can go from there,
Read
okay?
it?
No, I wouldn't read it.
Okay, thank you. So
Okay,
Sandy
does
and I
anyone
put
have
in
any
for
other
the-
questions?
Sandy and
Yes,
I
sir,
put in.
Mr. Metzger.
Is there any type of thing that they're really pressing, or the city in their early plans here are pressing to use this towards? Specifically, like I told you, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing,
I agree.
and it should be used for stuff that's gonna be here for a long time. In my personal opinion, I think infrastructure is a very big thing. There's parts of the city that have been improved in the past few years. Example, off of Lucas, 7th, 6th Street, that whole area, and their water infrastructure. There's still parts of the city that are lacking the infrastructure, and me being up on the point is one of the areas. You should go out towards the east end of the city on the longer stretches, Wright Park and Ounce and Otter. There's water infrastructure situations there that are definitely need improvement. And I think this would be one of those times that we could take some of these monies and greatly improve the water infrastructure on the west and the east end of the city. There has been big projects scattered throughout the city on water improvements, and I think there's other areas we need to do that, as well as some of these things recreational, the parks and things of that nature. But like I told you, this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, and let's get the biggest bang for our buck out of this whole
Yes, I
thing.
couldn't agree more. So all of that would be allowable, eligible expenses. So definitely write that on your comment card for sure. And I agree, we are making progress and we are doing projects like that throughout the city. There is an infrastructure bill that's working its way through Congress right now, so we're crossing our fingers and hoping that will see a little bit of funding coming from that as well. But in the meantime, absolutely, that is definitely eligible activities under this program.
Okay?
Yes.
The 3-in-1 program, in another
Oh,
word.
Mr. Terry.
Hey,
I haven't had a chance to talk yet.
Yes, sir. Your turn.
They gotta know what's going on in the.
You were talking about, or Mr. Warmblower talked about combining with other sources. I don't know if it would be a combination of resources, but the county, through its critic program, has identified projects both in the North County and the South County that would benefit the region. They've all been vetted, they have committees, a lot of input from people. 3 of those that come to my mind are housing, code enforcement, and infrastructure, as Jim said. So I would think anytime we're writing a grant, it'd be nice to know that we've looked at other studies and other strategic plans, so to speak,
Yep.
and see if we can support some of those.
Absolutely.
I attended the NRG hearing, which was not very well attended, and the input that what we left with was that we're out of money, and we have a study, and there were 3 options that were spelled out, but until we have more money, NRG will just kind of sit there unless the owner decides to step up to the plate. I don't know if there would be any chance of using some of this money to further address what we're going to do with that facility.
Yep, so I can answer both of those. To answer your first question, the mayor has been in communication with several different mayors throughout the state. I have also attended meetings in Mayville with the county and with other municipalities. Our team has been working collaboratively, and in fact, we went to Mayville, met with the county executive and other mayors to do exactly what you're saying, to kind of get all on the same page, because the county received funding, Jamestown is an entitlement community, so they received funding, everybody got some. So we're working collaboratively so that we're not duplicating projects or efforts. To answer your second question, yes, so we are working on the next steps for the NRG power plant. I know this is a little bit off topic, so I'll be really quick, but I do want to answer your question. NYSERDA has another grant opportunity, which we are going to apply for collaboratively and jointly with the county to do the next steps on that project. So that'll be a more detailed study on the site and what would need to happen next, some more specific cost analyses and priorities. And then once we have those 2 studies, then we have some information that we can take to the state or other stakeholders, and we can say, here, we've done these feasibility studies, we've done our homework, we're working to try and do something with this power plant, please help us. So we are still working on that. We haven't turned the key on that one yet, no sir.
These funds wouldn't be, you couldn't use these funds for that.
Not really, but I think working with NYSERDA is a pretty good strategy that way. So that's what we're going to do next.
I gotta just mention that to Mr. Edwards here, that this was done by our chief police, Ortolano, Officer Moshlock, and Quantone, okay? And this was never brought in. 3 times we tried to get money for them through the grant, through the state. right? I have to tell them this. I have to. And yesterday, I got a call from Quantone, Sheriff Quantone, that yeah, somebody finally, they got my letter, finally, they're, or Bob Bankowski naturally, finally is going to help them get that money to the state. It's a little late, but it's coming. This is the way we've been fighting things.
Oh, my
I have to read this.
Miss Valerie, can I talk to
First
you?
of all,
I don't wanna
thank you
waste
for
anybody
coming
else's
to
time.
the
Yes,
meeting.
Jeanette?
Please. Let's begin with.
I'm only gonna be here for a moment.
Okay. Here we go again.
In light of the event that took place, Monday, unfortunately, my nephew is the child who drowned. And after reading tons of Facebook posts, I just want to, if he's interested in adding more onto waterfronts, a big question has been raised, and I believe the situation would have happened with or without proper signage. But I'm just kind of somehow, some way, I don't know if it was an error in planning or development, but somehow we never put up signs on the pier for no swimming, no diving. And I don't think signage would have had anything to do with my situation, but it raised a lot of concern all of a sudden, since it's been there 2 years, for people noticing that there's no signs. So I think for the future,
Yes.
it would be
That's for you.
better
okay?
for
Thank
the
you.
society. And I'm not sure, because I haven't really gone into detail over all the procedures of what went on, entailing for water rescue and whatnot. That's something that the departments would know more about, and I don't have any issue with the circumstances and how they did a perfect, respectful. I could not ask for a better crew for what they had to perform for me, but maybe trying to find some kind of investment for future, since we are a water, to have more, because we count on off-duty officers in our area, so we had to call in Silver Creek, which did take some time. I think if the phone call would have made more directly, it would have been more, there's a lot of circumstances that I don't really want to dig in. I don't feel that there's anything wrong that happened. You know, it was an accident. But maybe look into future funding, since we are trying to draw more attention to maybe have some kind of funding to have our own dive team that's more capable of being more active. You know, but I don't, as far as the situation, you know, I love all my cops, I love all my rescue crew, my firemen, and, you know, they did an exceptional job, you know, so I have no complaints other than stressing that I really would like signing for peace of mind, and maybe trying to figure out how, if we're gonna move forward as a city with our waterfront, how are we going to make it safer in the future, in case anything else ever happens, you know? And that's all I wanted to throw in there. I really got a goal, but I just wanted to just interject them. Okay.
Well, I do want to say I'm sorry for your loss.
I appreciate it.
And I think those are really great suggestions that I think that we should certainly take into consideration for any future projects. Absolutely. Okay. Does anyone else? I think we have time for maybe one more Myra. Yes.
Hi, Jill. First, thank you for the opportunity to hear our voices. I'm not a resident of the city of Dunkirk, but I work very closely with the residents. And I work for a nonprofit organization that provides home repairs and housing services. One of the issues that we are facing right now is lack of funds to provide home repair services to the elderly and disabled people in Dunkirk, and not just the elderly and the disabled people, but for low-income families who want to improve their homes, and because their income is so limited, they cannot do any home repair. So housing improvement will, I think, it will be a good choice to use this funds.
Great, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And that is definitely something that we can use as an investment. We have studies We did our Choosing Dunkirk study. We have our comprehensive plan. We have our walkability study, so we know the areas of town that we can, that need some additional assistance. Those are certainly projects that could be funded either through the qualified census tract option of these funds or through some other way. And I would love to see it, you know, a huge housing rehab. I think it would go a long way for neighborhood stabilization and community revitalization. So to your point, Mr. Master, about making a big splash and investment in the community, I think investing in neighborhoods would be a great idea for sure. Let's write it down. Yes.
Is there an existing program in Dunkirk for lead testing and abatement in all these old houses? I know that it's been an issue countywide, but is there one in the city of Dunkirk?
The county does lead abatement, and the Chautauqua County Land Bank, I think, does some lead abatement programs. I think those are more for houses that they are rehabbing that they will resell to low-income home buyers. But the county does lead paint, lead testing.
I'm saying of lead pipes.
And lead pipes.
And so I think that her comments made me think of that. I don't know if there would be a possibility of money from this grant being available to do any kind of lead pipe replacement in old houses. Would that be?
Yep, definitely could be an eligible use of these funds.
Marie, can you give that flip to Sharon
Sure.
that I gave you?
Yes.
Regarding the lead test, it is my understanding that the Opportunities Inc. is running the lead-based paint program. You should contact them for more information and see what they have available. Previous to run that program, but right now COI is running the program.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Jill, a while back, I know that there was some funding cut to one of the first-time homebuyer programs. Is this something that we could maybe touch upon with this stimulus money to help first-time homebuyers to purchase homes?
Great idea. Yeah. We can certainly make that work. I think that we could definitely do a program like that. I think that would be funded through the lost revenue category, or maybe investments in the qualified census tract areas. For sure, that could totally be something that we could use these funds for. Good idea. Yep.
Hi, my name is Sharon. I would like to concur with the gentleman over there in the corner who spoke about our city infrastructure, including the water, sewer, and the broadband. It's not sexy at all. Like, nobody wants to talk about the sewer. But this is a really good-sized chunk of money, and those are, our infrastructure is our foundation, the basis for our city, and it would be great to put some money toward that because we are unlikely to, in the future, get another opportunity like this where we have a large chunk of money that we can devote to a project that really needs attention for now and well into the future. And, you know, I really love the idea of housing improvements and a painting program and things like that. But something like that is a project that we may very well be able to secure funding for from another source in the future, or private funding, or individuals stepping up on their own. Whereas nobody's going to step up for water and sewer on their own because it's just too big to tackle. So just wanted to throw that in there.
Yep, and I will say we've made a great deal of improvements at our wastewater treatment plants. As I mentioned, we have been doing a lot of improvements in our water lines, but we can certainly always do more. So definitely great suggestions and certainly eligible uses of these funds. Yep, yes.
I agree with Sharon absolutely on the importance of the infrastructure, but I think it's wise to keep an eye and an ear on what's happening at the federal level with this huge infrastructure bill that's moving its way through, and you know something's going to happen there. We'll just have to get a piece of the pie.
Absolutely. So as I mentioned early on in the presentation, we don't have to commit to any project until 2024, but they do have to all be completed by 2026. So we are time bound with these funds, but they don't have to be decided on tomorrow. So I think it is wise to keep an eye on the infrastructure bills that are working their way through federal Congress right now, because I do anticipate that once that comes through, that we will see some additional funding in the communities for infrastructure projects. Can always certainly do more, and we can use these funds to supplement that. But again, yep, we'll take it there, and then, you know, use the funds somewhat, use the ARPA fund somewhere else.
I just want to say that the incubator is the best thing that ever happened, and they try to get rid of it. We belong to Fredonia State Technologies. You gotta be proud to be here.
I love this
You are,
facility.
and we're taking the police in the city of Dunkirk because they let us down and everything, and it's all in there.
Okay, great. I will get a copy of that. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any idea how many pipes break every year?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I can check with our Department of Public Works Director and find out for you.
Would that be an indication how bad our infrastructure really is? Being that we're a very old city?
We are a very old city, yep. That is not my area of expertise, but I'm happy to look into it and get with our DPW department and find out those answers for sure. Yep, I would think so.
I
Yes.
just want to say, I like your idea about parking, lakefront, waterfront parking areas, possibly acquiring some dilapidated properties for future use. But I understand there's going to be some, changes to Route 5, and that could eliminate some options for parking, so it's a good idea to continue to look at that.
Parking is definitely an issue for the city, particularly in the summer, of course, but, as we're, it's one of those good problems to have, right? As we're developing and growing, we have more visitors coming to the city, but they're all bringing their cars with them, so we need a place for them to park. So definitely parking, I think, is an issue for the city. Okay. Yes?
So would that be looking into some vertical structures as opposed to just taking up a bigger footprint?
We could definitely look at going up, for sure, yeah. Municipal parking garage, maybe 2 or 3 levels, would certainly go a long way, I think, in solving that problem.
I think that's probably where we're at right now, because we have a huge footprint for parking in the city.
We do. We have the lot the municipal lot on Washington. We've got the lot behind the county building, but that fills up with county employees, and it's just not enough spaces for everybody. So yes, we could certainly go up. I would encourage that. Okay. Great. So I think the takeaway is, number one, please fill out your comment cards, because that's really kind of the important thing, is that we're trying to gather and solicit some feedback and some ideas on what the community would like to use these funds for. But I think the takeaway is that, this is our opportunity, and pretty much we can figure out a way to make a project happen, either through a lost revenue or a qualified census tract or any other method that the Treasury has provided guidance on how we can use these funds. And so I think it's an exciting opportunity, and we're looking for your input. Yes?
Jill, will the surveys and comment cards be available to people who weren't at the meeting and people we know to share them with?
Absolutely. So we do have the survey on our cityofdunkirk.com website, and we do have hard copies that are distributed. Nicole, we put them at the library. There's some out there.
More out here as well.
We have them in the clerk's office at City Hall. So we do have printed out hard copies, or you can just download one off the city website. Very good. So if there's no more questions, I won't take up any more of your time. If you fill out your information here, great, we'll take it with you before you leave. We'll take it from you before you leave. If not, you're welcome to fill it out at home at your leisure. So I thank you all for coming, and I think that concludes our presentation.
Jill, you're all new to this, so